What's good, YouTube? How you guys doing today? I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I don't normally do videos like this of this nature, but here's my first attempt pretty much at it. Today I'm going to show you how to get Excalibur. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. You could do it by yourself. It's definitely a lot easier with teammates, but without further ado, let's get started. Excalibur, he is one of the three main choices you have when you're first starting your game. Most people choose Excalibur, Volt, and I forget the third one. I should probably look it up and figure out who it is. But Excalibur, very fun to use. I haven't had Excalibur for too long now, but for the past week I've been using Excalibur and just ranking them up, trying to get them to level 30, which I haven't been playing that much this past week. But I gotta say, extremely fun to use. Excalibur is a melee type Warframe, bases all of its abilities off of melees. So in order to get Excalibur, you have to farm him, obviously. And the place to farm him is on Mars in the mission War. You get to the end of the mission where you're fighting the boss, and on the boss's back there's tubes. You have to break one of those tubes, and from there you will progress. You want to try to bait out an overhead slam of his hammer, which then will freeze him, and in return making him vulnerable. So when he swings down, you want to sit there and focus and shoot at his back, his head, all that, and that's where you're going to gain your damage. When you know you're at the point where you can hurt him is when he's fully engulfed in flames. So after shooting all the different pipes on his back and blowing them up, he will emit a flame aura, and once he's doing that, like I said, you can shoot him, and that's when you're going to deal your most damage. And after you do that, obviously he's going to drop. You're going to get a mod or whatnot, and at the end of the mission, once you walk out of there, you're going to walk out with an Excalibur piece. Now, I'm pretty sure the chassis and the neuroptics is a 32% drop rate. I think I said in my other video on Rhino, I was getting the two of them confused. But the chassis and the neuroptics is a 32% drop rate, and the systems is a 28% drop rate. So hopefully you can run through the mission a handful of times and get all three parts that you need. The worst case scenario is you run it 32 times and you're guaranteed to have all three parts, but I'm pretty sure you'll get them sooner. I think I ran it maybe 5 or 6 times and I was able to get my systems. His first ability is Slash Dash, which allows you to bounce between enemies using the Exalted Blade, and the Exalted Blade deals a high level of damage. His second ability is Radial Blindness, which pretty much uses his Exalted Blade to emit a bright flash of light, which stuns the enemies for a couple seconds. As you rank up, the duration of that increases. His third ability is Radial Javelin. It launches javelins towards your enemies, dealing high damage and impaling them to walls. I just read that right off the wiki. I haven't been using his third ability often whatsoever. Occasionally I do. It's good for crowd control if you're being overwhelmed with enemies, and you usually use it as it's like a defense type of ability. It's more, like I said, for crowd control and when you're being overwhelmed from the enemies. And the Exalted Blade. The Exalted Blade, it's a lot of fun to use. Do I find myself using it often? Not really. I tend to use my gun more often because though I can be using my ability, I just rather be shooting. I'm not a melee type person. I don't really run around with my melee weapon sliding, flipping, spinning, and all that nonsense. But the Exalted Blade deals high amounts of damage, as well as emitting a energy wave that travels. I forget which patch it was, but they stopped that distance that the that the energy wave can travel. It only goes so far now. I don't know the exact distance, but it goes through walls, so you can know that there's enemies behind the door, and just sit there and use your exalted blade and shooting those energy waves, hitting them, dealing damage to them, and it is a lot of fun. It definitely is a lot of fun. So that's pretty much it on Excalibur. He's a lot of fun. He's pretty much the poster boy of Warframe. Once you level him up to 30 and you have the proper mods on him, pretty much use him for the almost the whole star chart. You probably get to like Saturn, Uranus area, and that's when you'll probably have to figure out something different. But for the most part, he's an extremely good frame. He's good solo. Because all of his attacks are pretty much, all of his abilities are pretty much melee. So the proper mods onto his Exalted Blade and onto your sword in general will be a huge advantage. And like I said, he's good for he has one ability that's good for crowd control, which if you're in a tough, tight spot, you can just use his, what is it called? His Radial Javelin and call it a day pretty much. But that's it on Excalibur. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I think I'm going to do Frost next. But that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed. As always, stay beautiful. Peace.